Well, the Jeep's behind me and it's on jack stands. That's pretty unusual, isn't it? If you remember, not so long ago, I installed an e-locker, like an Eaton e-locker clone, and the installation went really well. And I actually tested it the other day because it's really nice weather out there now. We've got snow. Now it's not working properly anymore, and I'm pretty gutted. I think it's actually destroyed, so I'm gonna have to pull it out, the locker obviously, and see what's wrong with it. The Jeep's actually all winterized, geared up and ready for a trip, and I've even got clone max tracks on the roof, so like pretty much a real overlander now. But anyway, let's see what's happened to this thing. I really haven't abused this locker at all. I literally tested it once, going uphill on a straight road with ice beneath the tyres, you know, and snow. So it was a low traction scenario, which is obviously great in terms of not putting too much load on it. Oh God, this is where shards of metal come out, isn't it? No shards of metal. The oil looks pretty good as well, though it's a bit black, but then I have been braking in the locker. Hopefully you can see that just as good as me. I'm just rotating this round. It actually looks okay. Those of you who watch the channel, you know I'm like a locker virgin. This is my first locker. I'm fairly familiar with how it's working, but basically I don't really know what's wrong with it. I'm going to engage the locker now and just see what it does. So I've switched the locker on. Maybe it's just not strong enough. Maybe the electromagnet isn't strong enough. It's trying, isn't it? Look, it tried to push it then, but it couldn't do it. It's like the little elephant that couldn't. Yeah, it's trying. I would have thought it should have been pushing this entire section inward like that, not just partially. But that does not look good to me. Now it's unlocked again. Yeah, this is rubbish. Every time I buy you something new, you fucking break, and then I gotta buy more shit, gotta buy more shit. Every time I fucking buying stuff, I'm buying more, fucking keep buying. This is just... Oh, the fun we have. There you go, 12 volts, 12 volts. I'm just going to try and establish whether this is a voltage issue, because the magnet works wired up both ways. It doesn't matter which way you wire the magnet up. The connectors on this connector that they give you, you can kind of see it's just rattling around in there and it's not really doing anything. I'm just charging the battery, and the car battery's at like 11.5 volts right now, so it could well be. But when I look at every other e-locker out there, Eaton, Harrop, all these other brands, they do not have that bit there. The pin goes straight in to this little recess here, and when the electromagnetic dog turd thing activates, it locks that ring in place. The pins keep on turning with the carrier, and then they lock the diff, and that's the way it seems to work. And then the whole thing seems to sort of like rotate quite happily until you let off the gas. But on this one here, it seems like the electromagnet is supposed to put resistance on this, so it's harder to move, and this then acts like the pins and slides up. Now, I don't know whether that's a better design, because you can see it's working now. As I'm charging the battery, it's starting to like work. Now that's locked now, because obviously it's like quite difficult to turn, but it hasn't like fully engaged it all the way like that, you know, which is what I would expect. But it's definitely working now, and it's now locking with almost every half turn, unless I spin the tyres really, really quickly. Confused, basically. I'm going to go have lunch, and I'm going to wait for the battery to charge. Well, I think I've actually solved the problem, and surprisingly, or maybe unsurprisingly to some of you, it seems to mostly come down to lubricant. Always does, doesn't it? 75-140 Transmax Limited Slip by Castrol is what I was using. Now, like I said, when I did the diff, when I fitted it, I just drained this out, I just put it back in, and the purpose being is I was going to change it after I'd broken the diff in. after 500 miles, because I didn't really want to just like put a load of money into like oil and stuff. But it's clearly playing a big part in the operation of the diff. And now that I've cleaned that oil out and I've just put a drop of normal 75/90, a red line that I had, I've only got a tiny amount, have to buy some more obviously to top it up. You can see the differential, like the locker is operating properly, like the engagement and the movement of the pins is a lot more than it was before. Usually within a quarter to a half turn, it's locked either in forward and reverse from between one or the other, obviously depending on which way you're going. So that's kind of a lot better. It seems to be kind of behaving itself. I think voltage plays a big part in it as well, because when you're running the engine, it's all working way better than when the engine's off. But the weird thing about that e-locker is I've not seen another model that uses two plates that force each other apart like a pair of ass cheeks. Because if you look at the manual, you can see it in there, number 15, but there's actually nothing telling you what they call it. And I don't know whether this is based off of a newer design, Eaton or Harrop, which are the same thing really, e-locker, like whether that's what they do now. But when I look on the internet and I do Google searches and I scroll through hundreds of products, I cannot see any of their products representing that one, which I find pretty interesting. For what I do, driving through snow and stuff like that, this is absolutely fine for me, because when I'm going forward, I'm just kind of wanting that continued momentum through the snow. I might reverse a little bit and then it relocks, and then I go back a bit and then I drive forward, it locks again. But I'm not on an incline or decline, am I? Like if I was like driving up a rock step and I needed and I had an e-locker and I needed it to be locked and I was going over an obstacle and I had to reverse a little bit to kind of adjust my line, then I think a locker like that is actually dangerous, because if it unlocks and it doesn't lock again and you don't realise it, if you're solo, then it's really dangerous. But you're relying on a spotter to say that tire's not moving, mate, you're unlocked, you know, and then you have to reverse again to get it locked. You know, it's all a little bit sketchy, isn't it? So that's kind of why an air locker I think is preferable in those situations, and why most people would choose that. Anyway, I've talked enough about this. You know, you can form your own opinions, and I'd be really interested to hear yours, and like people's experiences running e-lockers and kind of what they think of them, and what you kind of think of that one there, and like, is it different, or you know, am I just kind of making this up and this is based on a new design? But I've got another job to do. Got to pull the NP231, got to take a look inside it, see what damage has been done to it, because it's making a lot of noise. I think it's a loose chain, but we'll find out. He's having fun, he's having fun. Tell the world he's having fun. Oh, there we go. I'm glad I made this cross member like that. It can just come out on its own. Although I did copy other people's designs, so whatever. I'm having fun. Na, 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 na. Having fun. Most of these bolts are coming off just with my fingers, right? Just finger blasting these bad boys off. That's what happens when you've done mechanic work for a while. You just end up just, you know, you can literally finger blast anything. See that? Running through my head, NP231 is dead, NP231. That was a great rhyme, right? You know, you just... Bit of a shame that I've got to take this apart, really. Really only just got the Jeep back out again, and here we are. But I have neglected this, you know. I've been talking about needing to rebuild this for quite a long time, and it's my own stupid fault, really, for leaving it this long. So I've got this thing apart, and I'm just having a look at the chain, and it's looking pretty slack, to be honest. I already tested that prior to pulling it apart. So I'm just looking for kind of possible chain contact on some of the components here. I can see a little bit of something just there on the shifter fork. It looks like the chain has been cutting in. I mean, the chain's definitely slack, but I think there's more problems here. Yeah, the chain definitely needs changing, so I'm guessing that's neutral. That sounds sexy. Do you like that? Just grinding a few coffee beans. Maybe that's what this needs to be. Put it in the kitchen. Mrs. is going to love it. Merry Christmas. Yeah, I don't really know what that noise is there, but that's with it in neutral, so... Sounds like fucking shit, doesn't it? Well, there's the diagnosis confirmed. A loose chain. What a surprise. Not like anyone hasn't already told me that. But now I need to take all this apart and check whether the chain that I've actually got is better than this one. I think this one's actually kind of old as well. It's just weird the way it's like biting into the gear and kicking up a bit. I hope that isn't something more than I realised, but there's also a little bit of contact going on somewhere in there, like a kind of knocking sound. I've seen a couple of YouTube videos about that. It seems like baby oil's the answer, and I keep saying that to people, like, these just don't listen to me basically, so kind of fucking sick of it really. But anyway, yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some contact happening somewhere. I don't think it's on that. Yeah, these all look alright. Everything looks okay. So I've just got the spare case apart, and I've just put the chain on that one. You might ask, why don't you use the other case and just put that straight on? There are elements of it that are kind of busted within itself. So obviously you've got to take into account this isn't being sort of clamshelled between two halves, so it'll be more like that. So that chain is definitely behaving itself a lot better than the other one. It's not binding up and biting, and it is a bit tighter. But somebody once told me that in four-wheel drive, if you can rotate this output shaft more than 1/4 of an inch, you've got a stretched chain. But the thing I find strange about that is it isn't the chain that's got the slack, it's up in there. Before the chain's even rotating, like, you can hold the gear and move it, and that's where the slack is. So I'm not entirely sure whether it's meant to do that. Yeah, there we go. That's two-wheel drive now. Interesting enough, when I push it in too far, it does that. It makes that horrendous noise. I don't know whether it's supposed to do that or not. I think I've got more issues with this than I really realise. I've got a load of parts on the table here, and I've been having a look at the condition inside this NP231. I have changed some parts over to the other one, including the chain, which isn't as stretched as the other one. So you can see there, that is running a lot better without the binding that I was getting before. And also the noise at the back I've gotten rid of. There was a kind of a clicking noise that I was worried about, and it seems to be this piece here, which I've swapped out. In fact, I can see the contact along there. I'm not sure why, if I'm honest with you, why this was making a noise. I really don't know. But anyway, I've changed some components around, and it's actually taken me quite a while to just mess about with this and just sort of see what's working with it. So it seems to be running nice now, and with the other half on as well of the case, obviously the chain will be a little bit tighter, you know what I mean? It'll be like that. Before I rebuild that NP231, I'm just going to have a look online and have a look at some parts, because I know I can get a chain, the bearings, oil seals, and pretty much all the bits I need for it from Germany, but I'm going to be paying about 3 times the price for that gear than if I bought it from the US. And if I have a look on ebay.com, I've seen loads of rebuild kits for NP231s there, and they're around about $180 to $200, and the shipping is about $50 here to Sweden. So to be honest with you, it probably pays me more to actually get something from the US and just wait a little bit longer for it. So I'm just going to have a shop around before I actually bite the bullet and put it back together, because even though that chain looks good from the other box, you know, it'd be better to have a new one in there and put new bearings in and just be done with it for a while. But the oil actually turned up for the diff, and this will teach me to look at pictures properly and read things before I just click on them and buy them, because I bought 4 litres of this stuff and it's 75.90 motorbike oil. Love it when a plan goes to shit. I think it'll be okay because it's GL5 and it's designed for gearboxes and everything, but the colour of this stuff, it's like pear squash. It's a really light colour, and I'm used to oils like Redline 7590, which is like honey from a bee's nest. It's a real amber colour. It's got some real depth to it. This stuff was like water. So although this might mean that the diff lock operates properly, I don't know whether it's going to be the best thing for the differential in the front of that vehicle. So I'm going to have to check the specs, but hey, at least the LSD, the limited slip diff oil, gets a good wash out now that stuff's in there. So when the next oil change comes along, I'll know that it'll be okay. But this really brings me to the end of the video. It's a little bit of a short one, a bit of an underwhelming one, but you know, as I've always said on this channel, you're really just seeing what I'm up to at this point in time. You know, I rarely do I ever sort of think, what should I do for a video, you know, and force myself to do something just to make a video. Really, I'm always just kind of bringing the camera along for the ride, like bringing you guys along for the ride kind of thing, which I think is a much nicer way of doing stuff, because, you know, it's just reality. And checking out that diff lock and having a look at the NP231 were 2 big boxes that I need to tick off my list, because the snow is coming. And when I start getting out into the wilderness in the snow, I really do want to just know it's all working properly. Do you know what I mean? You can't be taking any chances going out into remote places in deep snow, breaking down, where recoveries and everything else cost a huge amount of money. You know, if they have to get a special vehicle on a trailer, get out to recover you, you know, it can get crazy. So you've really got to be able to look after yourself out here when you go out solo and you do sort of camping stuff, unless you really know somebody with a specialized tracked vehicle. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've got any advice for me regarding the NP231, like as in where to look online for parts, because I know they do a 6 planetary gear and a 2-inch wide chain and all that kind of stuff, but for me to get that in Europe's really difficult. And I can't seem to find a good link in the US that will ship to Europe either, so I'm kind of dead in the water with that one really. But yeah, I appreciate you all watching anyway and tagging along for this episode of f***ing nonsense. And yeah, I'll see you again very soon. So thanks for watching. Appreciate everybody on Patreon supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me, and I'll see you again really soon in another one, hopefully without this cold that you can probably hear that I've got. So take care. Let's have a bit of a pear squash. Fuck's sake, I can't believe I bought that.